Ah, Frank. Over here.
Yeah, good to meet you.
Glad to meet you at last. And can I introduce Deepa, my daughter? Excuse me, the chair of trustees. You know, Deepa and I try and arrange lunch meetings here as often as we can. It's good to get away from the factory and eat out, you know. But don't get me wrong, we create delicious food. But after 20 years of eating in the staff canteen, even I fancy a change now and again, you know. Have you eaten, by the way? The food is delicious here.
Well, actually, I had a late breakfast, to be honest, and...
He'll tell you that he comes here for the food, but it's actually the spa he really loves.
Nonsense, Deepa, nonsense. Though your predecessor, Anne, used to enjoy a steak whenever she could join us. Perhaps we can tempt you afterwards?
Well, I may be replacing Anne as Family Flavour's new actuary, but she and I, we're a little different in that respect.
Oh?
I'm vegan.
Well, Anne was truly one of a kind. It's such a shame she retired.
Practically a part of the family.
And she assured us that we're in safe hands with you, Frank, so we're looking forward to a long and fruitful partnership.
Well, of course, I'll do my best.
Anne really was one of us. It's rare that anyone can understand how important a family business is to the community and to the staff it employs. And she used to get quite excited about our company trips on the open water. I take it you're a lover of yachting too, I presume?
Well, I had a sailing holiday once, but I got terribly seasick. It was far too windy.
Well, not when we host a little company entertainment on a 120-footer. Yeah, you'll be fine. Yep. Let me show you this. There we are. There she is. Isn't she pretty? The trappings of success after all the years in business. You'll also notice that most of our family occasions have a tendency to mix with our business, inevitably.
And the staff at the factory wouldn't have it any other way, would they, Dad?
No.
Well, as we said, Anne had nothing but good things to say about you.
Absolutely, a rising star.
She's kind, and of course, I will do my best.
But no need to be modest, Frank. We can tell when someone isn't a right fit for us from a mile away. And if your CV is anything to go by...
Agreed. Plus, you seem to already have an outstanding track record when it comes to giving advice to other pension schemes.
And in the food manufacturing sector, no less.
Oh, stop. If I'd have known you'd like me this much already, I would have doubled my rate. No, what I mean is...
Don't you worry, Frank. We understand that actuaries can be expensive. But we are glad to have you on board. And you'll be worth every penny if you can help us keep our pension scheme contributions at a reasonable, affordable level.
And that's right, Dad. And it's hugely important to us that we keep the scheme going. Plus, we're halfway through the recovery plan, and we only have 2 more years until we're fully funded again. So we're hoping to reduce our contributions to a more affordable level.
I see.
And not before time. We are in a highly competitive industry, as I'm sure you're aware, Frank. The food industry will quickly leave you behind if you don't keep up with the times. I learned that the hard way, so that my daughters don't have to.
Well, then perhaps we should...
With the price pressures in the supermarket sector, the margins on our food products are tremendously tight. But if we can maintain our outgoings, keep them under control, we'll be on track to invest in the new production line technology. We'll need to be profitable.
I wouldn't necessarily.
40 years of legacy is something to be proud of. And I'd like to pass on the business in good shape. Especially with my first grandchild on the way. You know, little Prakesh here.
I'm sorry, but I just don't see it happening quite so smoothly.
What do you mean, Frank?
Prakesh, Deepa. In preparation for meeting with you, I carried out a few broad risk reviews of your scheme in the current environment, as well as a review of the recovery plan to see how it's faring. I suggest you increase contributions effective immediately. Now, I understand maybe this isn't the scenario you're looking for,
Frank?
but this will enable the scheme to significantly reduce the risks in the future. Interest rates have been at historically low levels for some time now, and mortality is continually improving. Your scheme is becoming increasingly mature. In fact, you have several employees who are coming up to retirement age in the next 5 years. This will only highlight the issue.
Frank, this is necessary.
In my view, We need to drastically reduce investment and funding risk in the scheme. That way we can ensure that the scheme will deliver the pensions into the future.
Well, that's all well and good, Frank, but we spend a great deal of time on our new business plans.
Prakash, I understand, but...
Dad, it's okay.
It's not okay, Deepa. We need that production line if we want to remain at the forefront. I mean, this could put us out of business.
No, Prakash, that's not what I'm suggesting.
Is that what you're saying? Are you trying to put us out of business?
Dad, take a moment. Look, these are our most recent set of management accounts. Anne saw these previously, strictly confidential, of course. But as you can see, the company has not budgeted for an increase of pension contributions for the next 5 years.
I know Anne may have proposed a different...
Anne promised us that once the recovery plan was complete, contributions would decrease. But from what you're saying, I don't see any upside for the company at all.
Well, that's not quite it.
In fact, as far as I can see, your proposal would have us switch assets into low-risk investments, meaning we'll have no choice but to increase contributions into the pension fund.
Well, I also propose a revision to the mortality assumption. All current research indicates that people will be living significantly longer lives.
Well, surely that's dependent on the individual.
Exactly. Many of our employees carry out manual work on a daily basis and have done so, many of them, since they were old enough to begin work. They enjoy their Friday night at the pub. And let's just say that the salads in the canteen have posed a separate issue of food waste, of all things.
Dad's right, Frank. They're very dear people to us, and we will look after our employees at any cost. But we're not talking about people with Pilates membership or Mediterranean pension schemes. It's unfortunate, but the people in our line of work do not tend to live far past the age of retirement.
It is clear how much your staff and your business mean to you. And I can assure you, if there was any other avenue, I'd certainly be more than willing to explore it.
Well then, explore away, Frank.
Frank, we discussed our intention of updating the factory production line with Anne over the past year. Informally, she thought it was quite savvy of us to invest in our company's future. She said that she would discuss this with you before she retired.
Well, it seems to have gone in one ear and out the other.
According to your projections, what are we looking at?
Well, these are only rough figures.
Well, roughly, 5 years, 6 years?
Well, with my revised estimate of the funding deficit, if the company continues with its current contributions, the recovery plan will be at least 15, maybe even 20 years.
We don't have to make these changes right away, do we? Couldn't you look at a more realistic model? Frank, there has to be another way.
These aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet to us, Frank. This will affect the lives and the job security of each of our employees. I doubt that we'll be able to run our business at a profit.
Frank, I'm telling you, there has to be another way.
Please believe me, I've taken all this into account. And I know it doesn't seem that way, but the assumptions are entirely justified. In fact, I have colleagues who would say maybe we need to even be more stringent. But the fact is, we just don't know how long people will live for, which is why we need to build a margin for prudence.
Wait, what are you saying? None of this is accurate. I mean, none of these numbers are actually solid.
They're not accurate, no.
Look at what you're saying, Frank. Look at my dad. Are you honestly asking us to sacrifice our business and the countless lives that rely on us based on rough figures? Come on, Frank. Think of the consequences.
Frank, as I said, there has to be another way. Let me tell you what I'm thinking.
Mr. Percival, you've been summoned to appear in front of our parliamentary committee today because of your central role in the collapse of the Family Flavours pension scheme. 5,000 pensioners are facing a poorer future, let down by you, a professional expert who they trusted to protect their interests. The documents presented to our committee show that you were fully aware of the risks facing this scheme. And as an experienced actuary, you drafted the initial advice which would have safeguarded these members' benefits. But then you allowed yourself to be persuaded to follow a completely different route, enabling the company directors to sacrifice the long-term well-being of the scheme members for the purposes of their short-term benefits. Mr. Percival, how can you justify calling yourself a professional actuary?